Hey, everybody. Welcome to SF Indie Fest's Livable Planet Film Festival. Thanks again for being here. Obviously, we're more than a year into the pandemic, and we never really expected to be doing film festivals in this kind of virtual world. But we found a lot of great films, and we're excited to share them here over the next 2 weeks. We're lucky enough to have the filmmakers behind the film to which we belong, Pamela Tanner Bowl and Lindsay Richardson. Welcome, Pamela and Lindsay. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you. How are you?
Doing good. I just got my second vaccine shot yesterday, so on the road to recovery.
Great. Same with me. Oh, I got it last week.
Nice. It's good to kind
Yeah.
of see some good momentum out there in the world. Okay, Zoom gets a little bit weird sometimes. Thanks for your patience, everybody. So Pamela and Lindsay, I guess maybe a good place to start off is what was the kind of inspiration for making this film?
My inspiration for making this film was pretty simple. I was concerned about the growing heating up of the planet, which causes all sorts of weather problems. I have kids, and I just wanted their children and really their great grandchildren to have the same beautiful place that I've grown up in. And there's a lot of tech. There were a lot of back 4 or 5 years ago, there were a lot of technical solutions to climate change, which I thought were crazy because they were unproven. And I started reading about soil, and a couple of titles that stick with me are Cows Save the Planet and The Soil Will Save Us. And these were books that really inspired me to chase down some stories of folks who were beginning to change the parameters by creating healthier soil, which draws down more carbon.
And so, with this kind of idea in hand, one of the things I think is really interesting with your film is not just all these kind of creative ways people are working to solve these problems, but each of them have their own kind of personalities and things. So, for lack of a better word, how did you cast the film?
Well, I know personally that when I watch a film, I want to learn something, but I also want to fall in love. And in order to fall in love, you need great stories of people who are trying hard to do something that is not necessarily what their neighbors expect. You need some courage, and you need some, I'm going to do this anyway. And so those are the kinds of folks that we looked for. And we found them. And the second thing that we were looking for was folks who were not only in California or New York's, but throughout the country. I really wanted to make this film about folks who were in the heartland, if you will, Nebraska, Montana, even, well, that's kind of the West, Colorado, because sometimes they get overlooked, and there are some amazing, innovative stories, as you can see. So it was twofold.
And when you were kind of starting to dig in with the assumption that had you kind of seen this as like an environmental story, or how much did you think that economics might play in the role? Because obviously sometimes economics can be this kind of leading indicator for why people will kind of adopt new technology or approaches. And so were a lot of these kind of characters, were they thinking of if they could prove there are obviously altruistic reasons why they're deciding to kind of embrace the different approaches. Is did a lot of them think of look, if I can prove that this, works, that maybe other people in my community how do they kind of feel like they're kind of trendsetters in some way?
Oh, that's a great question. They went ahead and did it because it was beneficial to them and to their families and to their farms. In other words, that by improving the soil, by putting cover crops on the soil, which draw down more carbon and feed the microbial life of the soil, they could cut their costs. That was vital in our storytelling. it was an absolute improvement in their lives as farmers and ranchers. And so we tried to capture the sense that yes, this was good for everybody, but it had to be good for the farmers and ranchers first. And it is, because their profits improve when they have fewer chemicals and less equipment to use.
And so as y'all like went out in the field, how did it work? I mean, in the sense of like, how long did you spend with each person, or kind of community? And then did you kind of keep on coming back, or how did that work out production wise?
I would say this is more of a film where we wanted to tell a lot of different stories in sort of Veritas style. So we wanted people to get to know them and know what they were up to. But it was a vignette style of filmmaking. We would go and spend time with the James Ranch. We would go and spend time with the Trey Hill in Maryland, etc. But we didn't necessarily go back, which we have done in other films. Lindsay, you can add plenty to this.
I mean, we were, as Pam said, we did a lot of sort of pre-interviewing and getting to know people, and then tried to shoot really efficiently, where we were, some people we were only with for 2 days, others we were with for 4 days, but we weren't returning to these places, but we felt like there were such wonderful characters and really opened up their lives to us and let us in a way that I feel like we hope the storytelling feels like we were with them longer, but it was just a few days with each of them.
Very nice. And like, did you start finding that there was kind of a network of people where, you hang out with this rancher and they're like, oh, well, you need to go and meet this other person that I heard that's doing this cool thing? I mean, like, how much was this kind of word of mouth, or like, are these kind of communities kind of people kind of these kind of trailblazers kind of connected in some way?
They're definitely connected. There are organizations that support this kind of work, and they're doing training programs, and they're bringing it to both farmers and ranchers. So we worked with those organizations. One was the Quivira Coalition. They're in New Mexico, and they work with ranchers and to improve their ranching by improving soil, etc. So a lot of the people that we had been to their seminars. Another group that we worked with was Savory Institute, which is one of the largest institutes in the world, and they are working worldwide with grassland, beef farmers, cattle farmers. Another one was the Nature Conservancy, which is a pretty big organization, and they had been doing a lot of work with farmers, row crop farmers in the US and around the world to change their way of doing things so that they could begin to bring back the fertility and also the water holding capacity of the soil. So we work with those people, and then we heard about people.
Yeah, I think it is true that what you were saying about the people are networked. Like, it's amazing that, Michael Doan, who we worked with from the Nature Conservancy, knows Alejandro, who we filmed with and we would find out like, oh, they've met someplace in Africa at a conference. And so it is sort of this wonderfully interconnected world. And just to add on what Pam said earlier about like diversity within the US and really showing the heartland, we also really wanted to show that this is also something that can be practiced in our oceans with Bren and the vertical ocean farming, and then also practiced on wildly different scale, like Grace on her farm in Kenya on 1 acre is doing amazing work. And then also in sort of more extreme climates like the Chihuahua Desert and the work that's being done there. So for us, it was important to have this vignette styled storytelling, but the purpose of that was to say, anyone watching this film can find a way into this. This isn't a niche thing that only happens on a farm in Vermont with, very particular conditions. This is something we can all be doing, and we can all be doing it right now. And
exactly,
that's like a big through line for us in the film. And
Yeah, and I think it makes it for a much more powerful story because I think so many of us out there, I mean, even people that are environmentally inclined, it's like everybody can get kind of myopic in some way. And so just to kind of expand the way that we kind of think about the possibilities just leads, I mean, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. People then wind up being encouraged to find solutions. So, as you're kind of out there on the ground filming, was there anything that kind of surprised you that kind of, as you were making this journey, you're like, I would never have imagined this, or that you found particularly inspirational?
Oh, for me, the most inspirational thing about this is that everywhere we went, people were very willing and eager to share what they were doing and why they started doing it. They had everyone had a very open heart about this. It wasn't like, well, I'm not going to tell you because, I want to keep trade secrets. And also, this is a practice that's done because of economics. The environment certainly figures in, but it's also done for love of the land. These folks who work on the land, I don't care if it's the 10,000 acre guy or the 1 acre person, they love their land. And this was something that we wanted to hope that would get across too.
Yeah. And I think for me, one of the most powerful things beyond the things Pam's already stated is the timeline of this, like going to people's farms or ranches and seeing their neighbors and, knowing that they've only been doing this 2 or 3 years and looking at the health of their soil, the amount of grass they've been able to bring back, and just this can happen in a few years. This isn't some pie in the sky. This can happen in 30 years if we all start doing. It's like this change is quite immediate and very profound and very, as a filmmaker, it's great when you can see what land in Chihuahua looks like when it's overgrazed and turned completely desertified next to Alejandro and his gorgeous lush grasses. And granted, he's been at it for 10 years, but still that's not that long of a timeline. So that was really, as a visual, filmmaking's a visual medium, it was really powerful to see that.
Yeah, and I would add to that I unfortunately didn't get to go to the Masai Mara, but Lindsay shot there. I got caught with, don't even ask, COVID and everything else, but she did a stellar job. But one of the things that is amazing is that these folks are cattle ranchers. For their sense of self is embedded in that they're cattlemen, and they never had worked together to send their cattle as one herd out and to graze. And they did, and they immediately embraced it. Why? Because the grasses came back. What had been 20% coverage became 70% within a year. It was amazing. It was such an immediate change. Yeah. And that's what's exciting to me about this.
So, go ahead, Lindsay.
Oh, and just part of this film is like, I think regenerative agriculture is, Pam and I always talk about this, it's this exciting tipping point moment. And, we were starting to see that with Enkidu in the Mara, all of the surrounding conservancies adopting these practices. But we're hoping that this film getting out into the world sort of gets this idea out on a larger scale, because it is so amazing and more people should be doing it, and quickly.
And it works.
Well, and thanks again for sharing your wonderful film. And as we kind of wrap up the Q&A, one of the things I always like to ask filmmakers is, what can we do to kind of continue to follow the film's path, and how can we kind of help spread the word as you continue to release it?
Well, we are just in the midst. We're almost ready to sign a distribution deal, which will be, hopefully we'll do some, we're probably not going to go theatrical because it's just not we're in the middle of pandemic still. So we're planning to go online. And so when we have our online presences around the world, we'll let you know. And you can also follow our website. We'll have all the information there. That's also where you can find our trailer. And we update that pretty regularly. So Lindsay, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, towhichrwebelong.com is our website, and you can go there. All our social channels are linked there. That's where you can, I think if you want to share this audience, if you work at a university or if you, have a group that you'd like to screen it for, that'll be where people will be able to set up those sort of educational nonprofit screenings. And hopefully we will also be having be on one of the streaming platforms as well. But we're just sort of at the beginning here now with getting it out into the world. But definitely signing up for our newsletter online and then following us on the social channels is the best way to stay up to date on what we're up to.
Awesome. Yeah, so there's a lot of good content and things are regularly updated on the To Which We Belong website. So I thought that was really great. So everybody, after you see this film, go out on Facebook or Twitter and tell them about this great documentary you saw, and we'll help get not only this great film seen by people, but hopefully maybe change the world. So thanks again, Pamela and Lindsay. Really appreciate it.
Thank you
so much.
Yes, thank you. That was great.